it'd be like, being like, hey, I just got all of yours. Guess what I don't want to
Right,
wrestle.
yeah. I was just wondering. Well, that's like, it is frustrating.
Or I'll talk to you.
And then ultimately you have to remind yourself, okay, this isn't about the sport, it's actually about to the like degree and getting a job.
Yeah.
So then I say no. So then I say no. Okay, Joyce, so put all these 3 schools that were down.
And when the green is on, if you get too close, it sounds really fuzzy. And this is a volume button on the back, which you should not need to touch at all. And then you tap it, again, and it's back on. And the green light is telling you if it's on. I think it's. I don't think you have to. When they're all on, you might get removing or the mute is more of a, I think. Yeah, or just breathing heavy, like I would be with stuff, but yeah, I think they're uncomfortable to use because.
And nobody told me I just found out. No, I didn't.
Can we turn the air handler off so it's quieter and get this gymnasium? No, I don't think that's just a pressure. Stay warm.
So, I was only affected. So now you look at this guy. It seems to have room to grow. And he didn't even. I was like, what? And Ryan might have even, we knew that. Didn't? I was being
When the meeting's over, if you want to do it later.
That's
It doesn't have to be at 7. He's running the meeting at 7 with our athletic council.
We were on the call list, and she was talking to her for a call list.
So, I don't want to take over the week every time you see a good time.
Tell her she's got
What school's it? We don't, we'll let him get through it. That's his first meeting with his kids. So it'd be better.
I'll just go to high school.
I'll grab, how many you want? You want them like in a panel?
He said,
Sit down with me and she got that.
That's what I'm gonna need. find 5 or 6 in a room with you, you can ask them a few questions.
In a highlighter.
Probably 15 questions. Perfect. I'll do that.
Highlight the difference
That way we don't have to bring one around at a time.
Categories on.
Yeah, we always put them, I always do them together, I do them in a group, I don't want to.
Just sit and go. And if highlight, what is the difference between this color and this
I'm going to call this meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Davenport, did you give everyone a demonstration?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, you good?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Okay, roll call shows we're missing Mr. Miller. Number 2, approval of agenda. Oh my goodness, sorry, I'm not used to people not sitting here. Sue Cadillac is also absent. All right, so the approval of the agenda. Entertain motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Dr. Hoff, support by Kevin Nash. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, so now we're on to communications. Written correspondence, we don't have any. Ovid-Elsie personnel. And under C.
Is that talking from you?
He says the same thing, change the policy. Yes, that's what I heard. All right, so under C, for public participation at board meetings, the Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. So we were a little bit more specific because it has been asked of us to change our policies to add a second time. So I said I would do it as a teacher would. If you're gonna be someone who comes up and addresses the board, please come and stand here so that we can all see you. And also it's recorded in case we wanna go back and listen to it. That way everyone can see that. The public comment is available for any stakeholder, community member, or school personnel to speak. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes, so it'll be done at the front of the room by the microphone. Anyone wishing to share during public comment must register their intentions on this paper. We do have 2 opportunities now to speak for public comment. The first time, and there's a spot on here, it's been changed, it says, is this subject an agenda item? So if you'd like to speak to something that is specifically on the agenda, that's the first time. if you have any other matter, you'd speak at the second time. You'd have during the meeting to walk up and give Crystal another form if you wanted to speak. One of the things on our bylaw 0167.3, letter G, says during the portion of the meeting designated for public participation, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic. So if you spoke on it the first time, you may speak on it the second time. Also, to try to improve our follow-up process, following public comments, myself, I will thank whoever's speaking, but also either the superintendent or myself will follow up with you. And at the next board meeting, during the superintendent report, anyone that we followed up with, we will share that during that time too. So it kind of wraps all around so everyone's aware that we're reaching out. So for this public comment though, we do not have any. Number 4, consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support by motion by Dr. Huff, support by Amy Thompson. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Number 5, Board of Education reports. For the first one, we have MASB representative Mark Palmer here to work with us on our executive search services.
Okay, good evening. Do I need to speak into the microphone here? Or?
We can carry it around if you want.
I'm just thinking, I need to see what's behind me, but, yeah, I'll figure it out as we go. Well, thanks for having me here this evening. You should have, everyone should have a packet of the information that we're going to need to go through this evening. On the right-hand side of your packet is the presentation, so if you wanted to write any notes. I'm not going to go through all the details of some of the presentation, more of what's pertinent right now at the stage we're at in the search. And then on the left-hand side will be the timeline, the preliminary posting, and some information on salary comparisons, things like that, that we'll talk about to get you all set. So, just figure this out real quick. I'm assuming I just hit the arrow there.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so I just went through all of our objectives for what we want to do here. So we're set there. I went over this. We'll adopt the calendar and adopt the preliminary posting. So just as a reminder, typically a superintendent search takes 12 to 13 weeks, and that's the timeline that we have laid out right here. It's set to be done in about 12 weeks. The 13th week, it goes longer if you don't make a decision at the end of that 12, basically. So we are at the planning stage, or preparation/planning. It's the first 1 to 3 weeks. So that's what we're concentrating mostly on at this stage of the game. And then recruitment, that's about 4 to 10 weeks. Our posting goes for 9 weeks. And then it'll take me a week to get all this information compiled in a way for you to present to you on that Monday night when you come to a board meeting where you will select who you want to bring in for an interview. Weeks 11 and 12 are your interview weeks. Usually we narrow it down to about 6 candidates. The first week you will interview the 6 candidates, and typically it's done over 2 nights. If you do the other option, you can do them on a Saturday, do them all at once, it makes for a long day, or I would suggest over 2 evenings, because they take about 50 minutes, 50 to 55 minutes for each candidate in the first round. And then we get to the second week would be typically bringing back 2 candidates, hopefully, for finalists, and those last about an hour and 15 minutes each. So we can usually get that done in 1 evening. Just as a reminder, and this is not only for you as a board, but also for anyone in the community or audience, we do follow the Open Meetings Act. Everything will be done in open session. There's no going into a closed session even to deliberate or to narrow down the candidates. It'll all be done here in open session. Now, everything is confidential. Just as a reminder, everything's confidential. When we talk about that first night when we come in here, I will assign them a random number to the candidates. So you will talk about them by number in public and who you want to bring in to interview. Once they have accepted an interview, then we'll put out their names the following day. So once they've accepted it. But just so you know that, everything will be for you and for anybody in the community. It is all done in the open. The only time where we may go into closed session is if you choose to do, there's a couple of surveys, profiles that we can do, basically leadership, testing some of their decision making. We have a couple of those that are available that you can pay extra for, and we do those sometimes on the finalists. We go into a room, we go into closed session for that to talk about anything or privacy issues, because that can get kind of confidential information comes from that. So that's the only time that we would ever go into a closed session for this process. So we're in the preparation phase, and I just wanted to lay out what the responsibilities will be for you at this stage of the game. So ESS is the executive search firm, and then there's what the board does, and there's what the district does. So I went ahead and I prepared a timeline and process. I've kind of have you prepared salary compensation comparisons, made a preliminary posting. We actually have stakeholder sessions already set up, so we'll be able to get those out, and I facilitate those, and I create the online survey, and I promote the opening. So then you have what the board will do, and that's what you're going to do in this phase. You're going to approve what I have done. We'll talk about if there's anything, changes that we need to make. We'll approve that tonight. You establish the salary range. I'll give you a suggestion, but you establish that. You approve the preliminary posting. We've had the stakeholder groups pretty much set, but there may be someone else that you want me to talk to. And you communicate the process and promote the opening. And the district makes sure they post meetings. I've already been working with Crystal on setting up a time where we can meet with the community and staff, and we put the posting on the website, that sort of thing. So you can all see it there, promote the opening. That's at the preliminary stage. Any questions on our responsibilities at this stage?
Will we have something on the Ovid-Elsie webpage that kind of highlights our timeline, and as we go through, so that people can go to that and see if they're not attending meetings?
Yes, we always suggest, I don't know if it's there yet or not, but usually they'll put like a space on your webpage, a home page. A lot of school districts will put like a little tab with a drop-down menu, and the tab will just be superintendent search, and then all the information can be put there. The press release for the stakeholder opening or the stakeholder input sessions, the link to the survey, the preliminary opening, that kind of stuff will all go right there. That's what we suggest we do. So I didn't talk to Crystal a little bit about it yet, and I'm not certain who does that for you, but I'm assuming it's Mr. Davenport. Typically, that's the way we do it. So, any other questions? Not too far behind it. This is the recruitment phase. It's there for you. We'll talk about that when we get a little bit more closer to the timeline. But basically, I'm going to collect all any applications. We do it electronically through our Revelis system. So I'll be responsible for that. You don't have to worry about it. It's all collected, and then we promote the opening. You know, we'll put it'll go up tomorrow. May even end up this evening, but it'll probably go tomorrow morning. The office will put it up for us, and I will field all any questions that may come up from candidates and that sort of thing. If you know of anyone that you would like to apply, let me know. I will contact them. It's usually quite often the way we do it. You can obviously encourage people, but if there's someone that you think you know of out there somewhere, and you'd like them to apply, let me know and I can contact that person. We have a pretty good network of people. We know who's looking for positions, but it's always, you know, if you know somebody that's, hey, this person's from Ovid, wants to come to Ovid-Elsie, please let us know. Then there's the things that the board does. I do want to remind you that at some point, it's probably a wise thing to do to begin working on your contract language that you want for your next superintendent. You may have something that you're already happy with, the model, and you just need to put numbers in, that sort of thing. But it's always, this stage of the game is where you want to have a representative that would more than likely work with your attorney. I don't know if Wayne, if you already have one all set up, but typically that's what happens. The board representative would meet with the attorney to find out what they're saying you should have in a contract for a superintendent at this stage of the game. So you can do it, you know, you can use, I think you use Troon, you can use your Troon attorney, or MASB does have an attorney as well, but usually it's your own district's attorney that takes care of that. And you can see the things that you need to do, each of the responsibilities at this stage of the process. Qualifications that you want to have for a superintendent, you're required to have. Superintendents must hold a valid administrator certificate issued by the Michigan Department of Education. And they must accumulate 150 hours of professional learning every 5 years in order to renew that certificate. So that is just something that's a must that you have to have. Now you can hire a non-certified person. There's a process to go through that's not real difficult. I'm not going to go through all the particulars now. We'll wait and see if you have someone that is not certified, but you're really interested in them. We can talk about what the process would be. But just want to let you know there is an opportunity to do that. It's just typically they have to get the certification somewhere along the line. So I really don't need to go through that process. Other things you want to look for. If you're looking for a superintendent, these are shoulds that you should have. You want to look, obviously, for someone that has an educational background and related advanced degrees. Usually they have a master's or an ed specialist or ed doctorate or a PhD. Some sort of advanced degree beyond their bachelor's. And it should be in education. They also, you might be looking for candidates that have that advanced degree, and maybe they've been through a program that's approved by the Department of Education, such as they have a Horizons program, MASA has a Horizons program, or MLI, Michigan Leadership Institute, has what they call the SUPS Academy. Those are two places where individuals kind of go get training to be a superintendent. So those are things that you could look for. And then you want to look, what is the history of district-wide responsibilities that a candidate has had? Have they been involved in contract negotiations? Have they been involved with the operations side of the school district? Budget development, things like that. So just what are their experiences across the district? Because there's a lot more than just the education side of being a superintendent. So keep that in mind when you are looking for your next superintendent. I'm not going to talk a lot about this slide here. You have it there. I want you to have it. It's just what are we going to do when we get to the interview phase, and how that looks, who has each responsibility. And again, I just want to emphasize, I'll facilitate, but you'll be the ones doing the interviewing. I'll hold the time, I'll hold you and the candidates to timelines. I'll help you with the questions, that sort of thing, so they're all prepared. You interview them, you get your own opinions on each person. You select who's going to be interviewed, and so on and so forth. So those are responsibilities. I do want to say, and you really won't know this until you get the actual list of candidates with their information. But please, once you do, I'm just going to remind you, anywhere in this process, until they have made it known that they are going to be a candidate, that have accepted an interview, refrain from asking questions of candidates, checking the candidates out, so to speak, until after that they've accepted. Usually what's going to happen is, between the first and the second interview, you will have an opportunity. I will assign you to call on references of the final candidates that you want to interview. So you have that in mind. Everything else, if you get, before that first interview, or even once you know their names, if there's some information and you said, well, I've heard this about this person, contact me, and I will do some fact checking to find out what's true and what's not. So that's normally how we do that. So until after the first interview, just let me know, and I'll find out the information that you need to have. And then there's the phase 2, and again, that's just what you would do. Again, between the first and second interview, that's when you really can do your research. You have the decision phase, and there's our responsibilities there. Again, kind of going through this part because that's down the road several weeks from now. And there's also a support phase. We're not going to just leave you hanging when you're all done. Once you've selected your person, I will be here. We'll set up a goal meeting, kind of a goal performance meeting type of thing, if you choose to, with your superintendent within the first 6 months of employment. That's kind of part of our guarantee type of thing. If you go through that and something doesn't work out in the first year, then you get another search for free. But we're not going to have that situation, so we're going to get it right this time around. Just wanted to, this is for you and for anybody in the community. We want to make sure that the stakeholders, the community, the staff has a chance to provide input for you and helping you to make a decision. So we do this in a few different ways. First, we will have an online survey that will go out, I'm going to send it tonight to Crystal, and it will be hopefully put on the website. We'll send out an email, any media that you normally would contact. We had a little bit of conversation about that, so hopefully in our area there's not a lot of media. I think it's Meridian Weekly maybe here. Something like, generally the State Journal doesn't pick something like this up, but anywhere that you can post to get people to see the online survey, that would be great. I also will conduct face-to-face focus groups. I've worked with Crystal. I have a community one set up for, I think it's next Tuesday evening. And then we have 4 different opportunities with staff because of the different buildings and things. I usually want to get them when they're first getting out of school. So we actually have one set up with transportation on next Tuesday, I believe it is, and doing that before they get on their buses. And then I think the middle school and high school is the 25th, which is Tuesday. I'm thinking that's correct. And then Wednesday and Thursday, one each at EE night and at Leonard. And I'm not certain which order they're in, but, and staff can go to any one of those if they're available. So if they're not available on one night, they can go to a different night. They can come to the community one. It's not whatever works out. In addition to that, I've set up, I worked with Superintendent Petrolia, and he has an ad staff meeting this week, and I'm going to meet with administrators and central office staff. I believe it's Thursday of this week. And I talked with Mr. Tokar just before the meeting, and I'm going to come in on Wednesday morning and meet with some students that are already here for some sort of a leadership committee meeting. So that will work out quite well. So we have the stakeholder groups that will do those face-to-face. In addition to that, at the first interview, we will have feedback forms. And for the audience, anybody can come and see that. They can give you their opinions. I will make copies of all their opinions, or we'll have copies made and pass them out to each of you on that evening so you have that information on each of the candidates. We'll do that for the first round, and then second round, we will also have the feedback forms, but also we will have question forms. So if someone's in the audience and there's some question that they want to ask, we'll have a set of questions already made, but if there's time, usually with about 10 minutes to go in the interview, I'll kind of make a signal to collect any questions people may have in the audience, and I'll go around and pick them up, and then I'll look them over and take out the duplicates, make sure that they're all appropriate to ask. I've never had a situation where it's like, yeah, we can't ask that question, but it could happen. And then I will slip them to the board president to ask those questions if there's time to do so. And again, the feedback forms will be there also. There will also be a time when we get to the finalists that we have an open house for each of the finalists. They'll get a tour of the district. It's usually done on the final interview day, and then we have about an hour session where it's just an open house. Anybody can come in from the community, from staff, meet the candidates. Again, we'll have feedback forms there that they can fill those out, give you their first impressions or their impressions, and I'll make copies of those, and you'll have those as more information as well. I found that can be quite valuable. One of my recent searches that unfortunately, for the way a person interacted with the community, probably determined the person's state of not getting the position. So just wanted to let you know that we'll have all those things. So any questions on stakeholder input?
I do, but it's more for you, I think. So are you going to contact the weekly?
Who's going to give me a press release for me to sign?
Okay. And will we also send it to Artist Press? Both of those? Okay. And then how soon, because you said the meeting for community is next Tuesday.
Right.
So how soon are we going to send that out?
Did I receive it?
Okay.
I will, when I leave the meeting tonight, when I get home, I will send it. I have it already written and ready to go.
Thank you.
So,
On the survey, how many questions usually does that entail?
it's approximately 10 questions, and it'll ask, actually I have a sample one with me this evening. I think I do. It's 10 questions, and some of them, to be honest, are, how long have you lived in the district? What's your, you know, are you a parent, a resident, a staff member, that sort of thing. And you check everything that applies. You could be a parent, a staff member, or you could just be a community member. So you answer that. And then they ask things like, what is the minimum level of education you want the board to consider? And it's a multiple choice question, because that's really the open-ended. They just get unwieldy, and it's crazy. You question asking what positions that a superintendent can, what would you like to, positions would you like them to have held in the past? What do you think they'd be valuable for your next superintendent? We'll ask questions about what type of expertise would you like to see the superintendent possess? For example, curriculum development, budget development, public relations, contract labor negotiations, that sort of thing. What experiences basically are you looking for, and what does the community want to see in the next superintendent? There's a question about different leadership styles, and what would the community like to see in those different leadership? What type of leader would they like to have? Collaborative, situational, transformational, and the questions kind of describe what each of those are for the people that are not familiar with leadership styles. I think I already talked about different experiences. We've talked about that, but also we ask basically skills and qualities that they may have. And so we ask that. And personal characteristics that they may have: honest and ethical, strong leader, collaborative, transparent, problem solver, those sorts of things. So there's several to choose from there. And oops, there's one more on the end. In choosing the next superintendent, which path or strategy below do you think the Board of Education should take? And basically this is asking, you know, find a candidate with the same basic educational management philosophy as the current administration, but who can make some necessary changes, or find a very different kind of candidate who is ready to take the district in a significantly different direction, and find a candidate who will stay the course and continue the good work of the current administration. So that kind of gives you a flavor. I guess I went through all the questions right there. So, any questions so far? Again, stakeholder groups there, and we try to make sure we get a chance to talk with all those, and I think that's pretty much covers it. So on that end of things. Any questions on anything in this presentation so far? Okay. If we could, I don't know, do you have the other timeline of that, or no?
I know, that's all
I set part of the presentation, I didn't know if it was up there.
I think it's on that.
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. Should be your timeline. Kind of lays it out right here. And it covers about 12 weeks. And does anything stand out to you that we're on the very first step there, the planning? That's right now. So I'll do starting the input sessions this week and next week. Stakeholder is going to close it on March 10th, and that's usually more than enough time. I'll send it, just try to remind. You put a first blast email out to staff and anybody that you have in your database, a lot of times families, early on, and then about 2 days before it's going to close up, we suggest sending it out again, just as a reminder that it's going to close. Then on the 17th, I'll come and report the stakeholder input. I'll give you chart reports of graphs of the the survey, and then I will just give you verbally and a summary of what the input sessions yielded from there. And then on that night, that's when we do we call our selection criteria. That's pretty much your final posting. So that'll give you an idea. That's your chance to say, this is what we want to have. When we look for the next superintendent, this is what we want in that person. Okay? We add that to the posting. That may add people, it may eliminate people. Someone may say, you know what, I'm really good at this sort of thing, whatever it was, and it looks like Ovid-Elsie is looking for that, so I'm going to apply. And the other ones may say, that doesn't fit me at all, and I'm not going to. But, so it also helps them to just have an idea a little bit more about the district. So we'll finish that up on the 17th, and again, I will come with what I think it said, and then you can add or change anything when we're here that evening. Usually what will happen is then we're well into the recruitment phase, obviously. After the 17th is when we really expect our, March 17th that is, that's when we really expect our serious candidates to apply. We're going to get some that I can guarantee, if this goes up tomorrow, by tomorrow afternoon, someone will apply. They probably are in Florida or something and they apply to everything. Just so you know that's going to happen. I know of some candidates in the state of Michigan that apply to everything, just to see what sticks. So the serious ones start a little bit, they'll do it after we do the final posting. Again, it closes on the 8th. On the Friday before, which is the 11th, I will send a passcode to get all the information on the candidates, their application process, their materials. We do that electronically. You'll be able to go in and look at everything that they have submitted through our Revlist system. I will look at your criteria and look at the candidates, and you know, if I probably will know a bit about all the candidates, and I'll probably choose a top tier of what I think fits Ovid-Elsie is looking for. I'll put it on there. You can use it or not use it. Every candidate will be there that you can look at. You can choose any one of them, but I'm just giving you a little guidance. Sometimes if they're not a top tier, there may be something about the person that's like, this isn't something that I really can put out in public, but it wouldn't be a good choice, so to speak. So usually that doesn't happen too often, but just so you know. So I just wanted to make clear, you get to see everyone that applies, and you can choose any of them that apply. I'm just here to help you facilitate it. I'm not making your choice for you. And you can see the final interviews and things like that on here. I put possible site visits if you really want to do a site visit for a candidate. Generally, that's not really done anymore. It's just so. It's kind of when you go to a district, things are staged in a way, and we can get so much information now without having to go to the district. They have the history. And we'll talk about that when we get to the first interview, what you're really looking for. You want to look at what they have done, not what you believe their potential is going to be, to put it short. And then, so that's a timeline. Any questions on that? Are we good with that timeline? Okay. So now, I'm not certain what order, you have two things that we can look at. You should have one called the preliminary posting, and we'll put the draft across it. I worked with Superintendent Petrolia to get some information and to help fill in some of the things on here, some of the information we have early on. If I spelled your name wrong, please let me know on here. I think I have all the right positions. If there's anything that you would like me to highlight in the first two, in the second and third paragraph there about Ovid-Elsie schools, I can do that as well. You have to send that to me tonight or whatever, because I'm going to take care of that when I get back tonight. So this aid contains all the information. Again, any candidates should be contacting me. If someone does contact you, encourage them to contact me. Whether you're in the district office, wherever, just refer them to me. I'd be happy to talk with them and explain the whole, you know, the process and answer questions for them. The idea is to really kind of take you out of the mix until the appropriate time for you to be part of that process. So the one thing that we do put in here to get people interested is we do have the compensation. When I say the compensation, it's a preliminary salary plus an annuity. So we try to look at in the Clinton County, Mid-Michigan area, schools similar to Ovid-Elsie. So if you look at the chart that I made for you, I came up with 4 other schools. And you can see their enrollments are kind of right in, you know, I guess Corona's a little bit higher than Ovid-Elsie, but well, by only a few hundred students. So looking at those, you can look at the total salary, total compensation. That's kind of an indicator, but where you kind of get messed up is when, if you look, the insurance packages are very different. And that often depends on the candidate that you're hiring, because you're going to offer an insurance package. If they're the main carrier and they have a family, it's going to cost more than, say, if they're single. Or maybe they have a spouse and they use the spouse's insurance. So that's why you see the variation in the insurance cost there. Pension is going to be, that's all based on, you know, what compensation, what salary you're paying every one of your employees. That's just the formula that you have to do for the state of Michigan. What you really want to look at then, and I should say, the other is kind of a strange category as well. So like if I'm looking at Durand, his other is almost $63,000. Well, I don't know that person right offhand. I don't know how long he or she has been there, but I do know, I looked it up, and that person is also their HR director. So they paid something like $25,000 or $30,000 to do that. So that's what makes that a lot. When you look at Langsberg, that superintendent's been there quite some time, and before that he was an administrator in the district as well. His other is quite a bit higher because he has built up longevity. And so he's getting paid a hefty sum of longevity. You can find all this by looking at their websites. So that's why you kind of take that into account. Sometimes a district will have a travel allowance. So for example, when I was a superintendent, I was getting something like $3,600 a year to drive my own vehicle within the district. You know, when outside the district or outside of Clinton and Ingham County, I turned in mileage, but this was, you know, checking snow days at 4 o'clock in the morning. And driving, believe it or not, from one building to the other in St. John's, it was like 40 minutes if you took from the top corner to the bottom corner. So that was, so sometimes they have that. The superintendent we checked here did not have any of that. So really you're looking at the salary and the annuity. And so when you look at those, you can see that the average salary is $139,214 and the average annuity is $11,635. So looking at that, and these contracts are all from 23, except for Ovid-Elsie was 22, 23. I'm not certain why. Someone else at the office does this for me. So I'm not certain why, if the other ones were 23, 24 or 22, 23. I don't know why they said 23 and one said, and else says 22, 23. But anyway, so after talking with my colleague and looking at the numbers, we felt that between salary plus annuity, because some superintendents will come in and say, I don't want an annuity, I just want it all salary. But from your standpoint, it doesn't really matter, it's all the same, because it's gonna cost you the same, whether it's salary or annuity, or they want, some want more of annuity because they don't want to pay the taxes on it right now, so they want a bigger annuity, smaller salary, so. So you put those two together, and that's where I came up with what we believe is a competitive salary is between $140,000 and $160,000 a year. That's it seems to be the going rate right now for school districts this size. Talking with Jay Bennett, who's kind of the expert on this, been doing it for a number of years, and he sees all the contracts around the state that have been coming out in the last year. He believes, we believe, we can be competitive at that range. So when you're looking at the one, you can go higher than 160. You can always go higher, but we should not go lower than 140, because there are people that will drop out that this is not what I expected. You know, that's going to be your person that maybe they've been running a bigger building, or maybe they've been an assistant superintendent somewhere. They've had more responsibilities in the district, but this may be their first superintendent job. They're going to be towards the 140. But if you get some rock star out there that you really want this person, and they already have experience, you're going to have to go up. So that's why we put that range in there, so we know, everyone knows they could have some interest in that. So, any questions on that? Thoughts?
Can you make a note on the preliminary posting? It's in the third paragraph. Elsie is spelled wrong. Can you edit that before I go out?
Yes, I can. Third paragraph.
Third paragraph.
Oh, well, Ovid-Elsie. You don't want to roll with that?
Not if you want a good superintendent.
Sorry about that. Surprising spell checker didn't catch that. Any other questions? So we feel good about this?
How do you compile the input from the employees? Do they take a survey also, or do you just?
They will take the same survey
Same survey?
as everyone else. And they check off if they're, you could, a teacher, administrator, I can't remember what all the categories are, but they can check that off. Now, unfortunately, we can't disaggregate and say this is what the staff said and this is what the community said. It all goes into one. I've been told it's far beyond what we're capable of deciphering out. So it's often quite interesting how closely everybody's aligned anyway. Particularly when you meet face to face, the face to face quite often will almost match exactly what the survey says. So, but people still sometimes like that opportunity to be able to say it to someone and have you write it down, that sort of thing. And sometimes there's something that'll stick out that maybe is not mentioned in the survey that should be. And I'm going to, just as a reminder, these community meetings, staff meetings, really we ask that board members do not attend those. We want, people tend to say different things when the board is present than they would if they were not. So we appreciate it if you did not. I think you'll get a truer reading of where your community and staff is at when you're not there. So just as a reminder. You are welcome. So, sorry it was a little long, tried to shorten it up. But again, you have my card in there, email, call. I I should, hopefully it'll be available, and I'll get back with you if I'm not, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I'll work with Crystal on getting this, rolling, tomorrow. I mean, I'll get her the information tonight, and then however she, I forgot about the Argus Press. So, okay.
Thank you.
You are all?
All right, Board of Education reports under B, it's my turn. So I went last month for the first time to the shared leadership meeting, and I really encourage if any of you can make it work in your schedule to go. It was really, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I know it's different from the perspective of an educator too, because I understood a lot more of what they were talking about. They shared that some of the teams, which I'm honored, they've been attending some of the trainings by Steve Seawald and how beneficial that's been. And I felt like they set up their meeting to kind of model some of the things they were learning and really incorporate everyone to be part of the communication, part of what they were presenting were things that he had shared. It was shared there that there's an adaptive schools training, and there's a grant that's possibly going to allow the EE&I and middle school staff to be part of a professional development opportunity in June with Steve Seawald. So not only have some from other buildings gone, but then that would be something for EE&I middle school, and they shared they hoped that it would be more, but they weren't sure. They said that the curriculum director process was still in motion, and they were hoping to bring the final candidate to the March board meeting to be shared with us. They were talking about different staffing changes and honoring those newer staff members to make sure that they felt welcome. They were talking about having an AI advisory team, so not if, but how to use AI in the schools. One of the activities that we did, we sat with someone else, and they talked about the difference between dialogue and discussion, and I felt like it was really something that we can even apply here. We are learning about everything first, and then sharing our opinions. And I have the article that I can share with any of you that you want, but we practiced that when we were there doing that, so that was neat. That was neat to see that. Let's see, we did an activity where you stood around the room and everyone could give their input on how they felt about it. And I think, the question was, should phones be allowed in meetings? Like, should your phone be allowed, or should all electronics be asked to be prohibited? So everyone could kind of discuss it, and talking about even in any meeting, what you don't accept or what you don't address at that time, you need to accept it. So it's having the opportunity to talk, be able to share your opinion, but then if not, you need to move forward and accept it. That was a good thing to think about as we're at our table. And then it was shared that they're trying to work out how to bring Dale Carnegie back into the schools and have a freshman seminar so that they're getting the academic skills that they need because they have to meet personal finance graduation credits. So they're kind of working on that for the 2025-2026 school year. So that's something neat too that we'll learn a little bit more about. But like I said, they do it the last Monday of the month, and if any of you want to take a turn, so the meeting's right after school, and it didn't last more than an hour. But it was good to see so many different people in the district who have different roles and different things that they have input on, just to listen to it. Especially not being educators, it might be, insightful for you. So that was shared leadership. For number 2 there, the board work sessions. So that was on our agenda last month, and we had, Wayne and I talked about, I feel like we just had limited information on what it was. And there's a motion made, but then we didn't second it, so we really couldn't discuss it. But after we had that meeting, we had a staff member reach out to us and had a little more information. So I'm not sure if I'm correct, but the team is from Leonard, or is it just lots of people who've been part of his training?
We have a current Leonard team.
Okay, so that's where I was getting some information from, like Mrs. Fertucci had shared. And there was nothing negative said about this presenter and the different, the ways that he communicates and different things that he's sharing with them during their training. So I know for myself, I didn't know at the last meeting that we had a team that was already working with this person, and we knew that CC Risa, that something was happening, we just didn't know that there will be people there. So what we did after that meeting, and another board member had reached out, Wayne and I both reached out to Steve Seawald, and I looked through his website and the things that he offers, and I picked some that I thought would be more purposeful for us. You know, originally we were looking at 4 sessions, and we didn't decide, and then we also have our superintendent stuff. So we contacted him, and we were looking to maybe set up 2 sessions. So when I looked at his website, and I was thinking about what might be the best for us as a board, I reached out and specifically asked about intentional and strategic leadership, collaborative structures supporting a culture of shared ownership, and then he also does something called cognitive dispositions supporting thinking and mindfulness. So we didn't solidify anything, but we had to bring it back here to see if we were on board, say yes, let's move forward, pick a March date, and then it's my understanding after we spoke about it that we, as long as we're on board, we could set the date, because both dates that he can come in March are before our board meeting. So we could set the date, we could get the contract with him, and we could approve the contract in March, but at least have already done our first work session. So he was available March 3rd and 10th, and then in person in April, he was available the 1st and the 8th. So he's kind of saving those spots for us. It's nothing that we need to vote on, we just needed a consensus that it's okay for me to reach out and.
On all board dates, or just?
No, we'll do 1 in March and 1 in,
Yeah, the March one would be March 3 or 10, whatever would fit the calendar.
the most of us that could attend, hopefully all of us. Are you good with reaching out? Okay, you good with those dates? Dr. Huff, are you good with reaching out? Are you good with those dates?
I made the motion to do it last time, so yeah.
So yes, okay, so we can, we don't need anything more than that, right? Okay.
Either date or is one better?
Well, they're all saying either, so I don't know for the 10th. I mean, I would like to do the 10th, if that's possible for us to reach out to him.
Would you say
No, I
yes if you want me to?
Or do you want me to?
Doesn't matter, you just
Okay.
tell me.
Okay, and then the dates in April were the 1st and the 8th that he could be here in person. One of those falls during spring break, so that may make a difference. Okay. Okay. I'll just reach out to those. So that's all for that. Letter C, students first, Andy Fritchie.
I'm moving around a little bit, if that's okay. I just wanted to kind of follow up from, I talked last, I think it was December, so I just kind of wanted to follow up. That night I spoke a lot from the heart. Today, my purpose today is to share facts and data on staff turnover within our district and how it directly impacts student outcomes and overall educational quality within our district. So before I get into it too much, since we met the last time I spoke, I've attended a lot of trainings. I've done the adaptive school. We've done a lot of data review within our school. At Leonard, we've been to CC Risa and been doing our data reviews. Just recently, I attended the Michigan Education Association winter conference. That was a lot of fun. That was my first time going. And I think after going to all those different things, we also had, I know Dan's gonna talk about the school safety training, and like I felt like at each one, I picked up something different to kind of like pull this all together. I know like Brooke and I talked after one of the meetings and just kind of reflected, and I said, I do feel like we all want the same thing. We all want to move forward, but it's almost like there's a barrier. And I feel like for me, I finally got the picture of like what it is, and I'm hoping to share this video at one of our conferences that we went to, it was all about building, you know, the efficacy and working as a team. It's a really cool video. I wish I could have showed it tonight, but I don't have the official permission to do it. But the one, it's all about teamwork, and the one was a rowing team. So I don't really know a lot about rowing. I know we have people here that probably do. But just watching it and listening to them say, you know, they all have to be going the same way, and I thought, well, think about our people that have left, and like imagine us rowing, and we've got all these people leaving and new people coming, and to me it was like, okay, like we have to reset, like we've got to get together and regroup. So that's kind of a lot about where this started, and I guess my enthusiasm for being like, okay, I want to share the data. I did go to shared leadership in November. I took a presentation there just to kind of show the numbers of people leaving. So, and just a little bit of background on Michigan and the turnover rate that we're seeing with educators. So, for me, thinking about it, like, how can we move forward? And we are a team, we're OE. So, we need to start with building some trust, I feel. Community members, board members, administrators, teachers, we need to build that trust back up. We need to create a positive culture. I think we do have that, but I think there's things we could do to do those positive things. And when you're around positive people and you're doing positive things, that just kind of spreads. Like we talk about kindness in our building, you know, how you can spread kindness. I think we can spread positive things. Shifting the focus, which I talked about at the last meeting, and I think our focus does need to be, what can we do, again, to move forward? What can we do for those students? Showing respect to others, and then just reflecting on our purpose, everybody's purpose. And our purpose is, you know, we go back to the students, putting students first. And one of our meetings with Steve, one thing that he kept going back on is whose needs are being met. So when we were talking and we were planning and we were making all these, you know, our plans for meetings and things that we're doing and implementing, you know, he always says to go back to whose needs are being met when you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to make a decision. So, some of the things that we're doing district-wide, we have the highly effective teams. We've started to implement that at Leonard, and E-Night was also a part of the trainings that we've been to, and I think Mrs. Parsons would agree, just like the little changes that we've made have made a huge difference just in our meetings, like how effective our meetings are and how we can get through things quicker and making everybody feel a part of the team because we have such a young, new staff. Building advocacy. I think, Brooke, did you have the article on that? Or no? That was some. Okay. So there's an article on that. That was another really cool thing that we picked up at one of our last trainings. Just believing that we can do really good things, believing we can improve our data. You have to believe in that. I mean, it sounds like a really simple thing, and the article will tell you much more than I can say in just a few minutes, but it was truly amazing. We've had volunteers from each building to be a part of the GLOW team that we kind of created after we did some fun things at the elementary buildings with staff in December, and watched the morale just boost within just some simple, like, funny, like, Grinch day. We had teachers laughing. I mean, some of our teachers that, you know, staff that's been there a while, Mr. Long was like, looked at me like, you're really gonna make me do this? I'm like, yeah, we are. And by the end, everybody was laughing, so we had a lot of fun with it. So we have somebody from every building that has volunteered. If somebody's doing something fun like in their building, they'll share that with the rest of the team in the district, and they're welcome to join in. So it's not just one school doing it. So we're trying to build that culture and build that community back. One of the things that they talked a lot about at the MEA conference in the session that I went to was the attraction and retention. And I thought that's a really good phrase. I've always been like, what can we do to keep the teachers? And what can we do to bring new teachers in? So that was a huge focus. So the other thing that I want to keep reminding people that this isn't an Ovid-Elsie. When we look at our data and see we have all these teachers leaving, this isn't an Ovid-Elsie thing. Like, it's not, what is Ovid-Elsie doing? This is happening statewide, nationwide. So, some of the data that we have, in the last 2 years, we've lost leaders, two superintendents, 2 athletic directors, a principal, curriculum director, director of buildings and grounds, and director of transportation. In the last 2 months, we've lost the director of finance, assistant director of finance, and another athletic director. And these might be off a little bit because I couldn't remember who left when, but you get the general. In the last 2 years, we've lost 23 teachers. 5 of the 23 teachers retired, 18 of the 23 just left the district for various reasons. So this just talks about looking ahead, breaking it down. I'm going to go through these kind of quickly because you get the idea. So what does this mean? Almost 20% of our certified teaching staff will be eligible to retire in 2 years. And 35% of our teachers were hired within the last 3 years. That doesn't include the 3 non-certified teachers and 2 not included in the teacher contract. I have a slide in here, and I can share this all with you guys so you can go back and look at anything that you want, but this just talks about Michigan making a plan. Talks about mentoring. And then also each district may have supports in place, so they talk about how districts are dealing with this. And then the causes of teacher turnover, the working conditions, lack of respect as a professional, and then stagnant or decreasing student achievement. And then the key takeaway is leaders can reduce teacher turnover by addressing root causes that are within the sphere of influence. So we together, we have the power to do some things. Again, it's a problem in Michigan, but there are things I feel like we can do here. So when we look at leaders also, we have to start from the top, which is all of you, all the administrators, and again, it goes back to working together as a team. Another interesting thing that I thought when I was looking at all this, that 60% of the shared leadership team, they have children attending Ovid-Elsie. And then 53% of the certified teaching staff have or had children attending. We have 11 staff members within the district that have a kindergarten student attending. So, for me, that tells me that it's the people that have kids here that are staying. So, we need to keep these families, and we need to keep bringing in people with children, hopefully, that will come here. So one of the last things I want to say, and actually, I was looking through when board members, when you apply and you list like the things that you want to do, and one of the board members actually quoted, I think it said, when we work together, we do better. And I was like, that's perfect, that's it. Like, that's what we need to do. We need to come together. And we saw this a couple times in our meetings. Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. So I think that's kind of what we need to start focusing on, keeping the students first, but how can we work together as a team? And I think that's really going to be where we move forward and where we can get somewhere. So hopefully tonight you took this as a positive, like I'm bringing this information because I felt like just sending you the numbers doesn't mean as much as talking about it. And I just wanted to keep things positive, and I know looking at those numbers can be daunting, but I think it's reality. It's not, again, it's not Ovid-Elsie. It's not just us. I think there's, little things that we can do to help it along, but just kind of being mindful and aware that, these are the people leaving, so.
Can you go back to the slide that causes for people leaving?
I actually, all the ones that talked about, these things, I listed an article underneath, so I can email you guys the articles. I can email this too, if you're interested. And you're welcome to follow up. I promise I won't come and talk, but I felt like this information should be shared. Like I said, I shared it at the shared leadership, but even like sitting down and looking at those numbers, and I pulled those numbers from our seniority list, so it tells like how many years people have been there. So I just did the math myself online. So and then just seeing it is kind of like, wow, that many people have left, and it was kind of shocking for me. So I just wanted to share it with you. I think it's important just to have that awareness. Again, we went to the MEA conference and they were saying the same thing, attraction and retention, like that should be your focus. So, and they actually, I was like, hey, that's kind of fitting, like it's the team, like focusing on team. So, anybody have any questions? Feel free to reach out, follow. Yeah, I'll email the presentation and then I'll link in the articles too from Department of Ed.
Thank you. All right, on to D, Health Services, District Nurse Melissa Jones.
All right, good evening. Sorry, I kind of had a little scratchy throat tonight, so bear with me. All right, I want to focus on the whole school, community, whole child model. This actually kind of comes off of, Mandy's information, with that students first model, and just that whole team, keeping the community involved in the students' well-being is huge. So whole school, whole community, whole child model is a collaborative framework that integrates education, public health, and community resources to support students' overall well-being. It emphasizes that for students to be healthy, engaged, and successful, we must address not just academics, but also physical, emotional, and social health. By aligning school policies, health services, nutrition, counseling, community support, the whole school, whole community, whole child model ensures that students are in a safe, supportive environment where they can thrive. This model recognizes that healthy students are better learners, and when schools and communities work together, we create foundation for lifelong success. And this is an approach that we need to be committed to following as it best serves the needs for our students and our families. And then, going on to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when you start, I want to just illustrate how we start at the very bottom. It applies to students on where health services are essential. Learning doesn't just happen in isolation. It starts with meeting basic needs. That's your food, your shelter, and healthcare. If a child's hungry, if they're sick, or they're in pain, they can't focus in the classroom. Then next, you're going to have emotional and physical safety, which must be in place. That means students need to be able to feel secure, both at school and at home, to be able to concentrate and engage in learning. Then comes the need for belonging and relationships. That's having trusted friends, adults, and a support system that fosters connection and emotional well-being. Once those are met, a positive classroom culture must be present where students feel valued, supported, and encouraged to take risks in learning. Only then do we reach the top where self-actualization, where a student is truly ready to learn, grow, and achieve their full potential. This is why school health services matter. We are a part of that foundation that ensures students have what they need to succeed. We talk about the multi-tiered system of supports, and of course that's, your level 1 is your community, your district supports. Level 2 is going to be classrooms, groups of students, and then level 3 is going to be those individual supports. So I broke down where school nursing services fall into those categories. So tier 1 is going to be like your universal supports for all students. That's going to be your preventative health measures like vision, hearing screenings, immunization compliance, health education. It's also promoting that healthy school environment with wellness initiatives, nutrition, and physical activity. And then it's basic first aid and illness management to keep students in the classroom and ready to learn. Tier 2 is going to be targeted supports. That's going to be some students. You're going to look at students with chronic conditions. That's your asthma, diabetes, severe allergies, etc. You're going to have short-term mental health support, counseling referrals, monitoring students with social emotional concerns. And then case management for students with attendance issues, also due to medical conditions. Tier 3 is going to be that intensive support for a few students. That's your individualized health plans that have, students that have complex needs. That's going to be some crisis intervention for physical and mental health emergencies, coordination with outside healthcare providers, social services, special education teams. Health services are a key part of the MTSS because students must be healthy and supported to fully access their education. Our team works alongside teachers, counselors, and families to ensure every child gets the care they need at the right level. Now, when I say my team, or our team, I am the health person, but I, from the standpoint, have other individuals who are like your paraprofessionals and your secretaries and different people that are our support staff that do get trained to help support these students. So I broke down some district data on health conditions. I couldn't get a great graphic, sorry. I'm not real techie and I apologize. Nearly 30% from my running our reports that we have, and here's the thing. These are the students that report having a health condition. That is not necessarily what I feel is a true reflective because I don't feel that families give us the information that they should in order to care for their students. So there's still that trust that we're building because they're, they don't want to be claimed as as that might be a disability or things, but on the other hand, if we have that information, we can better support the students. So that's when I say this, I don't feel is like the best reflective number, but CDC does, per their data across the nation, say that 40% of students have chronic health conditions, at least one. So per our reports, roughly 30% have a reported health condition. And that's at least just one. Many have multiples. These health conditions range from asthma, diabetes, severe allergies, and seizures are the top 4. And then heart conditions and we have actually a few students that have bleeding disorders, and we have some adrenal conditions which are just as emergent as seizures or diabetes, but they don't fall in those categories. And then we have a very large, as you can see, it's actually the top, and that category is the emotional, behavioral, or psychological, and that can be, whether they feel they have anxiety, depression, they have ADHD, I mean, that ranges, it's vast, but it's still a diagnosis that plays into their learning. And then when students face these health challenges, their ability to focus, engage, and succeed in school is directly impacted. So the health service team provides the care, support, and management necessary to keep these students healthy in class and ready to learn. So I wrote down tier 1 as to what I am doing. This is the foundation of student health and learning, ensuring all of our students have support that they need to thrive. So that is health education. That's across the district, across buildings, however you want to look at it, throughout the community. I am working on district health newsletters that gives information, working on trying to be better about social media sharing for that health information. We did do drug and substance abuse prevention and that is K through 12. You'll see, I threw up a couple logos. We, the elementary school with Morgan's help, the counselor, she did help with the Red Ribbon Week in October for the elementary schools. Mr. Stedman in the middle school does some drug prevention into the classrooms. And then we are working on doing 9th through 12th in the high school, doing that through the advisory classes. We've done 2 of the 4 that we're hoping for the rest of the year. And then alternative ed. I have, we've scheduled 6. I have done 3, I think, and I have another one coming up for the month. And the rest are all scheduled. We're looking at, and when I say these are drug prevention, we're using the Catch My Breath this year. It's a great, because it not just teaches them, obviously we all know drug and substances and alcohol, that's all bad for us. Kids don't want to hear that. But when we talk about, you know, what that does to our brains, what that does to our developing brains, how that dopamine and the addiction centers in the brains, but then it also incorporates what we can do for those coping mechanisms, how we can manage stress. And we go through different, you know, ways to deal with that and give them, you know, activities and things that they can learn on from that. Instead of just giving them the no, 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 it's involving them to learn from that and how to make better choices and, you know, lifelong strategies. Oops. Sorry, I thought about something. Right there. What else? Encouraging healthy habits throughout school-wide programs. We did start a care closet. A middle school teacher did do that on her own in the middle school. I actually was working at the same time on one for the alternative ed. That is, of course, a group of students that I feel tend to be forgotten about. It's definitely a lower number of kids, and they do have a lot of, you know, home struggles and things like that. So making sure that they have access to, you know, shampoos and snacks and different things that they need, because while we do know that there's resources for parents, some children don't have the parental support that they need, and so, you know, they're relying on these people at school. So whether that's me, their teachers, things like that. So, you know, if we can make this environment more user-friendly for them and get them the things they need for home. So that's what I've worked on. We've got it set up. I didn't get pictures, I'm sorry. That's the thing, I will say, it's really hard to put a nursing presentation together with pictures and things, because so much of what I do is behind the scenes, or it's private. You can't necessarily share some of the stuff I'm doing with pictures and videos and things like that. So, but I am working on that care closet. I'm excited because we did put, like I said, just some basic needs. We did some mindful mind break type baskets for them to be able to like work on earning prizes or tickets to use, I guess, for good behaviors and things like that. And I want to be able to make that a sustainable donation program. Nutritional and physical activity promotion. Wellness committee is meeting actually tomorrow night, so that of course will play into some of that. Basic first aid and illness management. So that's, you know, of course, communicable disease, how things spread, why we need to do these things. That's just promoting overall student wellness, public, you know, the public health initiatives. I also want to say that the basic first aid, when we talk about that, it's all of our staff that gets trained. You know, I meet with the bus drivers. I meet with the food service staff. I talk with the custodians. Every single one of those people, and there's somebody else, recess aides. Every single one of them are involved in a student's life, and they need to know if that kid has an allergy, how they need to respond. Or, you know, the one thing, the bus drivers are our first eyes on most of our kids, and they see home lights where we don't. So that's a whole other thing that, you know, to me, the bus driver is important because they're seeing different things than we can, and we can report those back. So if we're a team, and we all can work together for the students. So, you know, that training, that communication, all is there. Preventative health screenings, you know, the state mandates that we have vision and hearing and dental assessments. So those are done, and I have the ability to follow up with any students that maybe have extra needs, making sure they are getting the care they need. Actually, I did assist a student last year who didn't have access to dental, and yes, you would think it's just as easy that there is a program at the health department, but that parent was very timid, they weren't sure, and it was a matter of finding the right provider that I was able to call and talk to that provider and get that student in with a parent into that provider and get them some extra care for some dental needs they had, which then helped them, here at school much better. Immunization compliance, again, that's, federal or state mandates. So Tier 1 services are the foundation of student health and learning, and that ensures all students have the support that they need here at school. And then Tier 2 is going to be, just those some students who require additional health support to manage ongoing conditions, barriers to learning. That ensures that they have the right support here. So that is going to be the, chronic condition management. We always refer to the top 4, when I say we, it's us in the medical field. The top 4 conditions in school are usually severe allergies that require an EpiPen, seizures, diabetes, and asthma. All of those could have detrimental emergencies if something went wrong. So those are our top 4. I did say there are, in our district, we do have some bleeding disorders and we have adrenal disorders. Those 2 have emergencies. We have to be trained specifically how to care for those if something arose. But it also means that those kids tend to miss more school, or they might have more illnesses, and we need to be able to work with those students and the families to be able to get them, maybe it's an inhaler that they can't afford, and I can reach out to the physician, or I've got some resources. So there's a lot of case management from nursing that comes into this role here to help support those students. Medication administration and monitoring. That's of course training all of our staff that they're handling that appropriately. I know that as parents, we all give our kids medications. It's not that hard if we can read a box. However, when you're giving multiple kids and multiple medications here at school, it's very different. And it's a huge liability on our school and our staff if we're not doing those properly and making sure that we are trained and understanding how and why we might be giving these meds. Targeted health education, prevent interventions, that's of course, managing those specific health conditions. Individualized health plans and 504 plans, health counseling and parent support. Again, parents can get frustrated with their kids having all of these illnesses, or imagine having a kid that has a chronic condition. That's the one thing. If you don't feel that environment is safe that they're going into every single day, you are not going to want to send them, or you're going to be that helicopter parent, as we all know what they are. And we want that kid to learn to be independent. We want them to learn how to manage their own health, and also support the parents so that they're not worrying about how safe they are here at school. And of course, mental health plays into that. So one thing I will say is that in order to be well, mind, body, and soul, that is everything. You can't just have a physical being and be healthy. And then Tier 3 supports. That's going to be those much more individualized for specific students, where you're going to have those IHPs, you're going to have some field trip supports, you're going to have emergency action plans, what to do if a kid has a seizure, who responds, how do we respond, when do we call 911, or we go in lockdown, how is that student safe, how are they going to have access to their meds. So one-on-one nursing support for any direct care students. That one tends to be hard when there's only one nurse in the district. I know that the state, when we go, I am a member of the Michigan Associations of School Nurses, and ultimately our goal would be to have a nurse in each building. Because anybody that knows anything about nursing, there is a safe patient to nurse ratio that makes safe, patient to nurse ratio that makes, safe care. So if you think about one nurse and nearly 1,400 kids, that's a lot. And so I'm not really able to give direct nursing care, but if we were to have someone that had much more medical needs, then I do have to, have that time to be able to be there with that student, give more training to anybody that I can that is going to be working with them. That's a paraprofessional, that's a secretary, things like that. Crisis intervention, emergency response, and then, coordination and healthcare providers and specialists, and that's huge because, sorry, Dr. Huff, but it's hard to call doctors' offices. It's hard to get them on the phone, and I know it is. I've worked in offices. They're in and out with patients. So when you can finally get someone on the phone to talk to you, it's time consuming. And that takes a lot for a secretary or a principal. And so that's the thing, I'm able to have those conversations when need be, and it helps. It does definitely help, give that time back to the secretary to do more things that they need to do. And then I can also help support with students with disabilities and 504 plans. And again, sometimes it's a matter of everybody's brains work differently. Teachers, I love sitting at the table where it's everybody's the principal, it's the teachers, it's some of the other support staff, because everybody has a different perspective, and then I bring in my nursing brain, and then it's totally different too. And so we can all bring different entities to those tables to give everybody what they need. So Tier 3 services provide that life-saving care and essential support, allowing students with complex health needs to safely participate in school. And those are things, I'm sorry, I don't have pictures for because I can't really share what we do, but there are several students that I work with frequently and check in with and things like that. So that is all I have. I did not make a thank you slide at the end, sorry. Does anybody have any questions?
The safety training, Mr. Gavin.
Mrs. Jones and I are co-chairs of the safety committee, and on January 29th, we had DeWitt Township Police Chief Matt Maroney and a crew of volunteer paramedics led by our own Carl Dalkey guide us through Stop the Bleed and active violence response training. And as I'm watching all these PowerPoints, I was anticipating the snow day and set this up in straight lines because I'm used to straight lines. I realized we should swing the board out probably this way and swing the audience that way. I'll think about that for next time, but it's trying to get it all on camera and whatnot. I apologize, everyone has to crane. So the goal of this was to help us transition from a bystander or victim mentality to a survivor and active mentality, both here and in our roles at school, and in life in general. And I've done a training like this before with the Michigan State Police Conference for K-12. I was super nervous to bring it to our staff, but it was very well received. And part of it is we were putting on tourniquets, we were running from danger. There was a lot of thinking about actual scenarios. And we take feedback from our staff. This is the highest we've ever had for professional learning since we've started taking the feedback. No credit to me, but to the presenters. They did a great job, and I feel like you can read those comments that the staff gave, but I think it just felt very relevant and practical, really different from what we normally do at a professional learning. Safety's not it's a number one priority, but it's not what we normally train on. We're normally training on teaching and learning. So it was a pretty active afternoon. So this is a story that Fox 47 did. Ignore the bald guy who repeats himself, and the camera adds 40 pounds.
It's a kit that local law enforcement says they hope no one ever has to use, but in the event of an emergency, it could save a life. I'm your Ovid-Elsie neighborhood reporter, Russell Shelrick, here at Ovid-Elsie School District, learning how these bags now in every classroom are aiding safety.
Earlier this week, I sat down with DeWitt Township Police Chief Matt Maroney to get a first-hand look at the Roman kit.
What these essentially are Stop the Bleed kits. okay, that we're teaching every school teacher, administrator, school staff to use.
On Wednesday, I attended one of the training sessions at Ovid-Elsie where staff got hands-on experience using the kits.
You'll pull forward this way, so you hear a click.
The training included instruction on how to use items in the kit like tourniquets, bandage wraps, and chest seals, all with one goal in mind.
Stop bleeding to an injured site.
Beyond bleeding control, Chief Baroni also trained staff on run, hide, fight, a critical response strategy for active shooter situations, and emphasized the importance of having a plan in place. Dan Davenport, co-chair of Ovid-Elsie's Safety Committee, says that preparation is more important than ever.
As we gain access to these kits for Stop the Bleed, we realized that training is actually the biggest thing for us. How we use these kits, how we respond to dangerous situations.
Davenport acknowledged that these conversations aren't easy, but having a plan, receiving proper training, and being ready for the unthinkable can make all the difference.
Having the knowledge is foremost, but having the materials is essential as well. So it gives us the opportunity to respond to any kind of situation.
Thanks to a recent $720,000 grant, these kits will soon be in every classroom across Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton counties. To learn more about the Roman kits, visit our website at fox47news.com. In your neighborhood, I'm Russell Shelberg, Fox 47 News.
So, at the end of this month, the Safety Committee will be meeting to work on distributing those kits. And a lot of the purpose of all those materials is in accidents, in active violence situations, lives are lost because people don't know what to do or they don't have the materials. And when the Michigan State Police training, like everyone cried like every 20 minutes because we went through every single incident and what was learned. And this is a huge thing for everyone to learn. Everyone should learn how to use these types of materials. Everyone should have them in their vehicle, on their hunting trips, all that kind of thing. It was just really practical and useful. And our librarian was the lead on taking down a gunman, which was both hilarious and terrifying. But you know, she had always said, "No, I'm not the survivor." And I think she would say she walked away with some new mentality about how you can be proactive in the situation. The Safety Committee will also be looking at unpacking guidance for the EOP, the Emergency Operations Plan. That's in the agenda later, but it's not the new one. It's not the new guidance. It's just a compliance thing that we have to, I'll share more about that. Also, another grant paid for secure environment consultants to do a security review. So they walked through all of our buildings and interviewed people and wrote up a confidential report of here's all of your weaknesses, here's where you should start shoring things up. The committee is going to start working on that. We've already done some of them. The low-hanging fruit we just did immediately, but we're going to start working through, okay, what's the timeline and budget to start doing some of these things as we are working on our new emergency operations plan as well. Any questions about that? Thanks.
Under F, Superintendent's Business Office Update.
Okay, thank you, Brooke. My report has expanded, but I'll try to keep it shorter, but excellent reports from everyone this evening. Really appreciated them. Starting out with the business office update, I just want to say that CC RISA is going to continue their services through June 30. The people that come over to Ovid-Elsie have changed. We've gone through, I say, 2 bins, because we had a bin and then a Nick, just called them bin number 2. And now Clinton County RISA has taken someone out of retirement, and some of you know her, Lori Shumish, is going to come here 2 half-days a week. But in regards to any, and we're going to send a communication out to staff, any business office services that need to be completed. It can be insurance or payroll or any other areas, the first contact will be Katie in our office, and then Crystal and myself will help out, as well as Lori Shumish, but Katie will be the first contact. In addition to that, hoping to get our business manager interviews set up, and we're going to be meeting with the new personnel committee, and after this board meeting, I'm going to try to get some dates set up really quick so we can get those interviews. I'm hoping we get those interviews in by the second week in March. So that's an update on the business office. Number two, I just want to say, as I just mentioned, after this board meeting, I would like to get a meeting set up with the finance committee and also the personnel negotiation committee. And I know Mary, you're on both, so we'll try to set those up in the same evening. So I'll give you some dates right after the board meeting for that. Number three, I thought it's time to give a little snow day update, all right? We've had quite a few snow days here in mid-Michigan and throughout Michigan. Last week we used our 6th day, and the state of Michigan allows up to 6 days. And if we exceed those 6 days, then I will be applying for a waiver through MDE. Well, the next one, if we have that one, I'll have to apply for a waiver for an additional day. As I said, if you go beyond 6. But I just want to conclude, absolutely, I would choose to close school over some type of tragedy that would happen to staff or students. So always, I'm not going to say, oh, we only got 6, I can't go anymore. No, I will always choose safety. And then the fourth item I just want to say, it was mentioned, I think Brooke mentioned it or someone else mentioned it, our curriculum director. Over the last couple weeks we've had interviews and we had a real nice candidate pool, and I've met twice, and certainly during the interview, but then I've met with this individual over the phone. You know, do you meet him over the phone? Yeah, I guess you do. About a contract. And tomorrow morning I'm meeting with the individual again, and hopefully we can agree upon a contract, and as a result I will be bringing that to the March board meeting if everything goes well. I think I've listed them all. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any old business, so we'll get on to new business. Under A, Executive Search Services, we're looking at the two reports, or I'm sorry, the two things that Mark Palmer presented for us. One would be a preliminary posting, and the other would be a timeline that we need to have motions to approve those.
The Board of Education accept the preliminary posting presented by the National School Board Association representing
Support. So motion by Kevin Nash, support by Becky Williams to accept the preliminary posting. It was presented by MASB. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes.
I move the Board of Education to accept the superintendent search timeline as presented by MASB Representative Mark Palmer.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mary Thompson, support by Kevin Nash to accept the superintendent search timeline as presented. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Item B, employee retirements. We had 2 letters in our live binder. So if someone would like to motion to approve those.
I move the Board of Education accept the retirement of Amanda Herblake as a teacher at Leonard Elementary with regret, effective end of the 2024-25 school year.
Support.
Okay, motion by Becky Williams, support by Mary Thompson, to accept with regret the retirement of Amanda Herblay at the end of 2024-2025. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes.
I move the Board of Education accept the retirement of Doug Long as a teacher at Leonard and E. Knight Elementary with regret, effective end of the 2024-25 school year.
Okay, motion by Becky Williams, support by Kevin Nash to accept the retirement with regret of Doug Long at the end of the 2024-2025 school year. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, item C, we're looking at the interim athletic director contract. And if you didn't check your email today, we included another, I'm sorry, Crystal did, highlighting one of the changes in the contract. Entertain a motion.
I move the Board of Education extend a contract to Sean McKinney as the interim athletic director effective January 27th, 2025 through June 30th, 2025.
Support.
Okay, motion by Becky Williams, support by Mary Thompson for the interim athletic director contract. Any discussion?
This is interim, and Wayne has stated that it's going to be reposted in May.
Yeah, I didn't say exactly the date, but I would say sometime in May would be right, yes.
Yes, sometimes in May, now I got my mic on.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Item D, new paraprofessional position. It seems that after an IEP meeting took place, there's another student at EE Knight that we're going to need an additional paraprofessional to assist them.
I move the Board of Education to approve an additional paraprofessional position.
Support.
Okay, motion by Becky Lynn, support by Kevin Nash. Any discussion?
Is this for just this year or ongoing?
I would assume at this time it'll be ongoing, but it is with one student that the IEP is a one-on-one. So depends on for next year.
Okay, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. All right, item E, the E-rate recommendation.
I don't want to belabor E-rate too much. I know Huff has heard this before, but E-rate means education rate. It's a discount. It's a federal program that helps schools and libraries get affordable internet and telecommunications services. So I'm asking you to approve a total amount on 3 different projects, and we will not pay any of those total amounts. And I'll go through each one and explain what the discounts would be. The self-provision fiber, we have outdated multi-mode fiber running from the admin building to the press box and bus garage. It was most likely installed in the 2004 bond project. I can't confirm that. We'd like to update that fiber for speed and reliability. It seems to move with the weather, which means that ice has shifted something in the ground. If I had a magic wand, we would have done it when the parking lots were up, for sure. But that we didn't have the funding at the time. So for this, we would get an 80% discount, and we applied to receive what is called the E-Rate Special Construction Matching Fund Grant Phase 1, which is a matching grant between the state and the Fed. They would each add another 10%, so this project would be 100% covered. So that's the expected discount there, is that it wouldn't have cost. And if you want more detail, just ask and we can go through it, but that's the goal of that project. Network electronics, our core switch lives in that back room. Its end of life is 10 years, it's approaching that. It's the only switching equipment we haven't replaced since I've been here. And we got one bid response, which is typical because you're bidding for a brand, and that brand, which is Aruba HP, controls their local vendor. They get preferred pricing. Occasionally, depending on the nature of the project, they'll compete more, but in this case, there's only one bid. It's a very reputable company. We've been happy with their work in the past. This portion, so the cost was $46,669.64. The expected discount would be $26,893.41. So the district portion would be $20,580.23. So it's about half off. And that's because they've gotten very specific with E-rate over the years on where the ports go. A lot of the ports go to things like the floor, and that's not classroom, so it's not covered. So every little port and all of the switches gets counted out, and what can you get covered and what can't you. So this is a project we'd be looking at doing either way, but this is just an opportunity to get money back on it. And to be clear, there's two methods of invoicing. They're called BEAR and SBI. You don't need to know this, but billed entity applicant reimbursement means we pay and then we get reimbursed. SBI means service provider invoicing, which means the vendor bills USAC, the company that manages this directly, and we only pay the discounted amount. And that's worked out after you approved a vendor, you work with the vendor on what works for them. And then the internet access, we moved away from Frontier for our phones because we had endless problems with copper lines. We had some billing issues, there's a lot of difficulty. Our phones are now connected to the internet at less than half that cost, much less than half that cost, by a company called Intermedia. And our current internet connection attaches us to the Greater State Network through a company called Merit. It's a nonprofit, through Clinton County RESA. There's so many acronyms in this, I'm so sorry. But we can add what's called resilience bandwidth, meaning more bandwidth. In E-rate world, you do not say backup, that is not allowed. We would be adding increased connection with this bid. And the added benefit of that is if we lost internet connection to CC RESA, we can still keep our phones up. But the other benefit of having resiliency connection is that we can move traffic. So I can take the guest network and put it on a totally separate network connection, as an example. So this would be a per month cost, and the expected discount for an annual amount, so the annual amount was $20,388 at the bandwidth we were suggesting we should choose. The discount would be $16,310.40, so our district portion would be $4,077.60 annually. And again, you can work out the discount either way, but of the two bidders, we were recommending we went with Spectrum on that one. So the language is in front of you. You can, there was a digital link to the bids if you wanted to see all the detail. There's a lot of legalese in bids, especially when they're in E-rate format. But essentially they're just saying, this is the work we'll do for you, here's the dollar amount. Any questions about any of these projects?
Yeah, I do, Dan.
Yeah.
The very first one that you said with CC RESA, that's the monthly amount?
The first one I said.
Excuse me, the very last one. The first one we.
Oh, right, yeah, the monthly amount would be $1,699 per month.
$1,699, which is the amount that is listed here.
Yeah.
And then the next one that you were talking about, I believe, was with Moss Telecom.
Yeah.
And what is the amount for that, for the board?
For the district portion that we would, are you asking for the discounted amount? I'm sorry, I didn't put that in there.
No, the amount that we need.
The amount that we need in the motion.
Oh, the amount you need in the motion is in the paperwork in front of you. It should be the $46,669.64.
We have 47,005.66. I want to make sure that's accurate for that.
Let me check it. Sorry. Oh, you're correct. 47,000. Well, how do you say that? 5 and 66 cents. Yep. That amount is correct. It depends on how we choose the electronics. I put the number down for what I was gonna do, but you should still approve the total amount, so we have the flexibility to make the choice.
The very last one, Dan, on Amcon, What's the amount on that one?
43.
170.10.
That's correct. Yeah.
We need 3 recommendations.
I move the Board of Education to approve a contract with Spectrum Enterprise in the amount of $1,699 a month for resilient internet access.
A motion by Becky Williams, support by Mary Thompson, to approve a contract with Spectrum Enterprise Internet Access Service in the amount of $1,699 per month. Any discussion?
That's for all 4 buildings, correct? That's for all 4 buildings. They're fine.
What was the question, I'm sorry?
That's for all buildings, that covers.
The resilient connection?
Correct, yes. It was, I mean, we would put network traffic on it, like the guest network or the student traffic or something like that, but if one connection went down, we would cut over to the other one automatically. Yep.
Okay, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes.
I move the Board of Education to approve a contract with Moss Telecom in the amount of $47,005.66 for network electronics.
Okay, motion by Becky Williams, support by Kevin Nash, to approve the contract with Moss Telecom for network switching in the amount of $47,005.66. Any discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes.
I move the Board of Education to approve a contract with AMCOM Incorporated in the amount of $43,170.10 for self-provisioned fiber.
Support.
Okay, motion by Becky Williams, support by Mary Thompson, to approve the contract with AMCOM Incorporated for self-provisioned fiber in the amount of $43,170.10. Discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Right, item F, revised budget for the 2024-2025 school year.
The Finance Committee met, and is there any comments from the Finance Committee on the revised budget at this time? Or you just want me to give a general?
Mine's probably going to be very similar to yours.
Okay.
All in all, it looks good for adding funds, roughly about $240,000.
The revenue came in approximately $336,000 more than the original budget, and the expenditures came in at $148,000 more, and therefore excess revenue for this will be approximately $159,900. Let's call that $160,000, and in that we're putting $200,000 in capital projects.
And I'm jumping forward, but we're able to pull the, for our purchases of our buses that we approved them out of.
Yes, that'll come out of capital projects, correct.
Next year's budget.
Next year's capital projects, yeah, next year's budget.
Yeah, oh, it was great.
I move the Board of Education approve the revised budget for 2024-2025 as presented.
Motion by Becky Williams, support by Kevin Nash, to approve the revised budget for 2024-2025 as presented. Any discussion? Roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Sorry. Motion passes. G, purchase of 2 new school buses.
Yeah, the Finance Committee also had a report from our Transportation Department. I see Carla and Billy there to purchase 2 new 2026 school buses from Midwest Transit. The cost for each bus, $150,881. Multiply by 2, that's $301,762, and that's what Mary was talking about. That'll come out of capital projects, and they will be delivered sometime after the 1st of next year. Would we say, Billy?
Middle of September.
Middle of September, yeah. But we're trying to get back on a regular routine, and why 2 over 1? There's many advantages. One is the cost is just going to keep going up if you buy one now and one next, but I think there's more of an advantage than that even because parts and so forth like that, it's better to be working on 2 buses with the same parts. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually if a problem occurs on one sister bus, the next one's gonna have it. So it's less diagnostic time on repairs. There's flexible issues and whatnot.
So we're recommending the purchase of 2 new buses for next school year.
I move the Board of Education approves the purchase of 2 2026 model year IC buses for Midwest Transit at the cost of $150,881 for each bus. From Ovid-Elsie area schools capital fund.
Support. Motion by Kevin Nash, support by Becky Williams, to approve the purchase of 2 2026 model year IC buses for Midwest Transit for a total cost of $150,881 for each bus from the Ovid-Elsie Area Schools Capital Projects Fund. Any discussion?
I'd just like to point out, we do have a large fleet, and it's really important to get these old buses and have a healthy rotation in place, so we're not asking it in a millage and paying a long term for something that we don't have after it's gone. So that was, he sort of recommended to do for the future, every 2 years, roughly, to. So that's a large expense.
Support. Yes. Sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, I can say.
Excuse me. Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passes. Letter H, that was something I reached out to members on the board. Dr. Petrolia would like to start, or to have another committee. That would be our personnel, but also negotiation committee, so you might be part of the negotiations for the contracts, while also reviewing positions as they are being hired in the district. And we had 3 that were willing to step up and do that, and could do that without a conflict of interest. So we just need a motion.
I move Board of Education nominates Mary Thompson, Sue Cadillac, Becky Williams to Board Personnel Negotiations Committee.
Support.
Motion by Kevin Nash, support by Dr. Huff, to nominate Mary Thompson, Sue Cadillac, and Becky Williams to the Board Personnel and Negotiation Committee. Any discussion?
Yes.
I think you can. We don't actually have to vote on it. I just wanted to make sure you're.
Yes.
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 I, 2025-2026 school calendar.
Sure. Let me just make a comment about that, or a couple comments. The 25-26 school year calendar. First day for staff will be Monday, August 18. First day for students will be Wednesday, August 20 of 2025. And scooting ahead, the last day for students will be the morning of Friday, May 29. And the last day for staff then will be at the end of the day on Friday, May 29. So all the days fit in as we discussed, and all the days are the same as before. We have 100 and 80 staff days and 177 student days, because 3 are used for professional development, and they go towards a full day for students. So that's what the calendar we came up with, and hopefully that's early for staff to and parents to plan ahead. And that'll be posted right after our board meeting this evening or tomorrow morning.
I move the Board of Education approve the 2025-2026 school calendar as presented.
Motion by Becky Williams, support by Kevin Nash, to approve the 2025-2026 school calendar as presented. Any discussion?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, letter J, 2024-2025 school calendar amendment.
I'll speak to that briefly. I know we have Jason Tokar here too, if there's any further questions, but we're asking the board to approve the 24-25 school calendar amendment, and that is, let me get the right date here, it's testing for the 11th graders, and the date for that is Thursday, April 17th. So the testing for all 11th graders is Thursday, April 17th. So that day for 9th, 10th, and 12th will be used as a virtual learning day, and that has been recommended by student audit, but the Board of Education has to approve that. There is an item packet there for Q&A for virtual learning, if you would like to catch on or read up on that, but this is just for one day.
I move the Board of Education approves that Thursday, April 17th, 2025 shall be a virtual learning day for 9th, 10th, and 12th grade students at Ovid-Elsie High School.
Support.
Motion by Becky Williams, support by Mary Thompson, to approve Thursday, April 17th, 2025 as a virtual learning day for 9th, 10th, and 12th grade students at Ovid-Elsie High School. Any discussion?
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Letter K, the emergency operations plan was uploaded into LiveBinder.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment. I heard Dan say that there's going to be an update and a new one that's coming out, which is true. This EOP is something that the board needs to approve, and updates will be loaded as they come along for this, but we do need board approval for this, and then we post it on our website.
Board of Education approves the emergency operations plan as presented.
Support.
Motion by Kevin Nash, support by Mary Thompson, to approve the emergency operations plan as presented. Any discussion?
When was the last biennial review?
Pardon me, Mary?
When was the last biennial review?
Of this?
Yeah.
I can't tell you, all right? That would come from Dan.
It would have been 2023. Biennial means every 2 years, right? Yeah. And so this year's review is under the 2025 guidance, this school year's review, which means we're going to change the whole thing, but we still need to approve the one that we have.
Is that listed on the transparency page?
No, you wouldn't put your EOP on the transparency page.
Not even that you approved it along with, like, they have the fire drills and all those things? I mean, I'm not saying like the plan uploaded, but.
Sorry, I should talk to Mike. If there's a requirement for that, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, fire drills and all that are listed.
But where we're clicking the box for this is in a system called MEGS Plus. So we're reporting to the state the completion of it, but I'm not aware of if there's some public reporting requirement. I'm not aware of that specifically.
Okay, I didn't know. I just.
Yeah.
Do you know what law enforcement you guys use to make this plan?
I could look it up. It was
Are there people listed on the contract?
Is it, it's,
So it's got.
There was a signature document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the Ovid and the Elsie police?
It's Ovid-Elsie, Clinton County Sheriff's Department, but yet we are in a situation where Leonard is in Shiawassee, so we would get assistance from them also. In other words, if we needed them, they would all come on scene, and they have a hierarchy how they work it out together. And even state police would be coming.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call?
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. All right, under number 8, our additional public participation at board meetings, I have 1. Participants shall direct all comments to the board chair and not to staff or other participants. Ms. Dana Blake?
Good evening. I'm sharing a letter with you that was actually written on Wednesday of last week, but it's dated today. I didn't write it, but I think my colleague just had it dated because she had asked that someone read it tonight. I'm going to give all of you a copy. I brought this up at the December board meeting, that I was very disturbed that there are a lot of people in the community who think that the high school is toxic, that we're working in a toxic environment. And I asked that everyone move forward in December. Like, let's move forward. We got to move forward. And it really saddened me that this particular staff member came to me, because she's someone who is always bright and cheerful and wonderful, and there's zero negativity. And she has been saddened by the fact that people have walked up to her and asked her, how are you working in the high school? It's so toxic. And that is truly not how it is. So I'm reading this letter. Dear members of the Ovid-Elsie School Board, first, we would like to thank you for all your hard work serving our district. You do not have an easy job, and we want you to know that we see you working toward continued growth and success for our district. We want you to know that we as a team support you as you work with us to make OE an outstanding school district. Before we get to the purpose of this letter, we want to make it clear that we are coming to you on our own. We are not being forced to reach out to you by anyone or by any agenda. The purpose of writing this letter is to make something clear. Many of us have been frustrated at the talk and rumors that we work in a hostile environment. Some say that things here at the high school are toxic. We are writing this letter to you to dispel that thought. It is not a toxic environment at Ovid-Elsie High School. We as a staff show up every day and love coming to our jobs. We love OE. We love our students. We respect and feel supported by our administrators. We feel a kinship with each other, and we believe that there is a bright future ahead for Ovid-Elsie High School. Is the school district perfect? Of course not. Do we ever clash opinions? Of course we do. We work through issues by respecting each other and realizing we are a team. People aren't perfect, but it has been our experience that we are in a place where we can work together safely and freely. We sharpen each other and learn together. We celebrate each other's victories and support those who require help. Ovid-Elsie is an amazing school district, and great things are happening here. We just wanted to state, as a group of teachers who want you to understand that our school district, and particularly the high school, is a place where we have a growth mindset and it's working, no matter what people on the outside say. Thank you so much for listening. Respectfully yours, Mandy Bayshore. And it is signed by the following. Can I read this?
Who signed it?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Austin Nagosky, Logan Kellogg, Dave Sheehan, Julie Weatherwax, Janine Ignash, Shane Tyler, Brian Topping, Lonnie Harcher, Brian Govinda, Carrie McCormick, Emma Harrington, Pete Faziani, Autumn Windsor, Tracy Hoffman, Renee Bays, Michelle Ott, Dana Blank, And then it's Amy Fanning or Hallie Lindoff. I can't read their handwriting, so I'm not sure which one that was. Okay, Ruben Nadarse, Travis Long, Abigail Lawrencell, Sue Horak, Michelle Moore, and Rebecca Powell. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm giving each of you a copy. I think that was all of them but 2 or 3, and that might have been, I think 1 declined and 1 or 2 were absent. So pretty much all of us, and I can tell you we did this because it came out in the morning. Mandy was actually sick. We did it by email. We went around, actually it wasn't me, it was a colleague. And then they were saying, who's going to read it? And I said, I have no problem reading it. So that's why I'm the one who read it. So there you go. So I'm hoping community members who are hearing this, we're okay at the high school.
Number 9, other matters which may properly come before the board.
I didn't fill out a paper. That's the first time I've ever been here. Can I get up and speak?
Okay, yes. We'll let you fill out your contact thing after so I can follow.
Okay. My name's Dan Favis. I went to school here. I was born and raised here. My kids all went to school here. All my cousins and all this and all of their kids came to school. Some of them are still here. I'd like to say that I want to thank the principals and the superintendents before these 2 were here before. My kids went through and they had a good experience. And they're very successful right now. And so I'd like to thank the teachers that taught them. There were some of them that are here, and I know one of them that just got done speaking. My boy was in her class, and he was crazy, and he hung around with some kids. But he learned, and he got his degree. He's doing great, and I appreciate everything that the school board, past, present, what they did. Like I said, the past principals and the past superintendents all kept this school going. My dad, when they first built this building, when they first came together, there was a lot of conflict between Ovid-Elsie on building this school. And I'm sure Mrs. Eastlick here, or Mrs. Frucci, I should say Eastlick, I don't know why I call her. But her dad would tell her, would probably tell you this, there was a lot of friction between Ovid-Elsie and building this school. Because Ovid-Elsie hated each other because of football and basketball and everything else, but the communities never got along. They never did until they built this school. And all of a sudden, everything came together, and it flourished, and people lived here, and people acknowledged one another, because like when we were growing up in junior high, we would play Ovid. Elsie would play Ovid, Ovid play, I mean, it was just, that's the way it was, and there was a lot of conflict, a lot of good games, football, basketball games against them. But what I'm trying to get to is, I think the community's got to figure out, I think Ms. Blink she was right on. There's always going to be people out there that are going to be crazy and they're all going to be negative and stuff about everything, about what goes on. But it all comes, to me, it all comes down to one thing, and that's school. To me, if you get a degree, you get an education, you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can go on and be whatever you want. My boy was always wanted to be a farmer. He was this big, and that's what he does now. He works on a farm with 15,000 milk cows, and he manages it. I mean, that was what his goal was. So, what I'm saying is, I know that the school board here has they have a lot of big tasks in front of them, and I think they'll do the job. I think they'll give it their best, and they'll find out that superintendent, but I think all of us need to support these people, because my kids, you know, hopefully we'll have grandkids, I don't know about that, but there's other Favises that are coming through the system that are younger, and they're going to have to deal with all this and our families, so I hope that everything goes good. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Other matters which may properly come before the board? Hearing from board members?
Oh, I would like to, Dan, I got to see your Fox News when it aired. Thursday night, I wasn't expecting that, to see your face. Thank you.
Either.
Motion by Dr. House, support by Dr. Nash. In favor?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
He always said that. He was like, not a
See you guys.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many people
That was something long. Oh, that's okay. Talk about the later.
I don't know.
Ready? Unless you want us on camera. Kids are waiting to eat.
Yeah, the kids are probably hungry.
Oh.
You're the new AD.
Yes, sir. I did. Okay. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, don't let him stretch. Crap. Oh,
You enjoy the way we play.
shoot, man. Yeah, we didn't have it back then. I'm real old.
Yeah, yeah.
Graduation player? No, coach trophy. No, you played trophy? Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, that's what I was playing. Okay. Okay. I understand. It's all good. It's a lot of height up. And with no three-point line there. Bang.
Yeah.
I said I miss it then. It was really.
Well, you can't get it even if you write that.
Yeah, yeah.
He said that was harder.